into the end zone.
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by the University of Florida, Whataburger, Farah and Farah, and by Everbank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
And welcome into the opening hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. 3 hours away from preseason week 2. The Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints at the Caesars Superdome. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, Austen Lane. And plenty to get to today, coming off the loss to the Steelers in preseason week 1. Mike, some practice days that didn't quite go as the team would have wanted, I think, overall. And now a chance to get back out there in game number 2 on the road.
Yeah, look, they've got to play better than they did last week. They got 3 weeks to get ready for the regular season. And the fact that they had a back-to-fundamentals practice to start the week where basically the football wasn't much involved. It was all about lining up. And Liam Cohen made a reference to almost taking it back to Pop Warner days. Tells you that, some of the basic stuff has yet to be ironed out for this football team, Austen. That includes who are the 5 offensive linemen going to be? And, I feel like we're getting to the point now where we should have that identified, and these guys need to start getting that work together. It seems like they're still working through the combinations.
And that's the thing about, when you talk about Liam Cohen coming from Tampa, I mean, he had the offensive lineman pretty much put in place already. Now, there was a change at center when he was there, but for the most part, they had that skilled offensive line. In Jacksonville, you're still trying to see what you have, what pieces you can move around and everything, and really this offense is going to run through them, literally running the football and also keeping Trevor Lawrence upright. So, yeah, they got a couple more weeks to figure it out, but hopefully sooner rather than later.
And they were flipping and flopping in practice this week on the offensive line, guys playing all over the line. And then Anton Harrison goes down with an injury. Chuma Edoga goes down with an injury. So that kind of changes the dynamic as well. You got to deal with some injuries, and then that gives other guys opportunities, Austen.
Well, and it's going to make you nervous too, right? Because we're not sure if Anton Harrison is playing today. And by all means, Trevor Lawrence will be playing, right? So how do you feel about putting your franchise quarterback out there, maybe with some backups right now? I guess we'll see how that shakes out, too, when they announce the injuries.
Yeah, sounds like some game-time decisions today. Travis Hunter was held out of practice on, I guess it was Friday, was off to the side going through the play sheet. Didn't even have the helmet with him. And then we heard later upper body issue. I think they're going to work him out early today to see how he goes and if he goes in today's game.
Yeah, quite frankly, I'm not sure what the great urgency would be to get him on the field. I mean, this is a guy you're going to be counting on to play more snaps than anyone on this football team this year. And if he's a little bit banged up, you don't need him in the preseason. I do think Trevor Lawrence needs the reps, though, Austen, and regardless of who's playing right tackle or any other position on the offensive line, these guys are supposedly, to a large degree interchangeable, right? They've got a lot of flexibility, and the fact that they haven't identified a clear 5 at every position tells me that there's not that much separation between some of these spots. So I don't think Trevor played bad last week at all. I just think that I want to see more reps and have this offense start to feel like it's clicking a little bit more because they have had some issues in practice.
No, you have to definitely see more from Trevor Lawrence in this offense. But as far as Travis Hunter is concerned, I think we've seen enough where I would feel comfortable if he doesn't play today, right? We already understand that he's probably the best cover corner on your team, and we understand in terms of wide receiving prowess, I think he has that too. So, all right, just go ahead and insert Parker Washington. We know what he's capable of, and let's let this offensive, unit cook without Travis Hunter. It's going to be okay. And I think if anything, and listen, you don't want to see guys get banged up a lot in the preseason, but it almost reminds us of this guy's human, okay? That this guy had some shoulder injuries in college. He didn't sit out an entire game in his college career, his last year or whatever, but he sat out halves because of a shoulder injury. So this just kind of reminds us, we expect him to play both ways, get a lot of playing time, but sometimes your job as a coach is to save that player from themselves. And I think that's what we have to do now with Travis Hunter.
All right, let's get to some of the top sound of the week, starting with the Jaguars dropping last week's preseason Week 1 game to the Steelers, and plenty to work on for the team in the aftermath. Head coach Liam Cohen explained the approach after Monday's practice. It was back to basics.
Alignment, assignment, getting our cleats in the ground when we have a call on both sides of the ball. Fundamentals. We did a 40-play alignment assignment period of just getting the call, getting our cleats in the ground, making loud guttural communication, getting the calls in quickly. That was what we were really kind of focusing on from an emphasis standpoint. Obviously, some of these guys are going to be a little bit sore that played a lot of snaps in the game, so we were trying to really hone in on the mind got conditioning out of it kind of as well.
Yeah, that's Liam Cohen after Monday's practice. And then a little later in the week, they had the scrimmage on Thursday. They had the opening drive touchdown for the offense, and then it wasn't as good after that. And you just kind of feel this is our first chance, guys, to really see Liam Cohen when things aren't going as smoothly as you would probably like. And it just, you could feel he's a little bit perturbed with some of the things coming out of the game. And then I think later in the week as well, looking back on it. So how often have you heard this cleats in the ground and lack of communication on defense? Austen, how concerning is that for you?
I mean, it has to be a little concerning, right? Because the biggest thing I wanted to watch, against the Steelers was how's your defense going to look against that Steelers offense, right? And obviously we expect them to be physical, but I didn't want to see guys going like this, looking around like, hey, who do I got? And we saw a little bit of that. Now, maybe that was the up-tempo and that Jaguars defense not expecting it, but at the end of the day, you have to get ready and set yourselves up to at least have a chance to win a football game. And when you have guys trying to turn around, look around, when you have self-inflicted penalties, it's hard to win games in the football league like that.
We've been told that Eric Murray's brought in here because he's an elite communicator, right? Going to get guys lined up on the back end. Hopefully we'll see more of that today because, that, like Austen said, that's been an issue in recent seasons. It was an issue last week. It was an issue in practice. And just the simple fact that they went through 40 plays without really running any plays had to be as frustrating for those guys. And hopefully that kind of put them in a mindset of we cannot allow ourselves to have to go through this again.
And part of that, too, though, remember, it's a new defensive coordinator who's never coordinated in the NFL before. He has in college. So getting the plays in from the sideline, the coaching staff, all that comes into play, too.
Well, and I'm not going to lie, though, and obviously it is a defensive coordinator issue as well. I don't say an issue, but, it's something that has to be addressed as a defensive coordinator. But this is a Liam Cohen thing, right? Like, he's now the head coach of an NFL team, and it's your job to make sure that your guys are ready. And I'm not going to lie. You can watch that Steelers game and pick it apart and maybe hit the panic button a little bit. But I'm a little intrigued because it happened in the preseason. I would much rather have it happen in the preseason instead of week 1 against Carolina. Guys aren't lined up properly. There's self-inflicted penalties. And now what do you do? So at least you're getting this out of the preseason. And by the time week 1 in Carolina comes to town, hopefully it's out of your system.
Now it's on to issues that the Jaguars are doing before the snap on the offensive side. They've had a rash of pre-snap penalties on offense in practice and, yes, in last week's game as well. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence this week on what can be done to work out the issues.
I mean, it's, pre-snap stuff. There's always a little bit of that in camp, but the amount we've had has been a little too sloppy for the offense that we want to be. If we want to be a great offense, you have to be really smart, not make those mistakes that hurt yourself, obviously execute, and I think the execution has been actually decent once the ball snapped, but the other stuff before the snap, you don't ever get a chance if you don't do that right. So there's been some stuff that we just have to lock in on the details. For me as a quarterback, got to operate a little cleaner. Let's get up to the line faster so guys can communicate and think and have time to, process and, remind each other of the cadence, all those things. It's all of us in it. We just have to be sharper.
Well, a lot of penalties in last week's game, the opening drive for the starters. I think there were 3 of them, 2 on one play. And then in the scrimmage, they had a full officiating crew out there, not from the NFL, but there's flags all over the field that day as well. So it's a continuing issue. And, again, I think to your point, Austen, better now than in like week 2 or 3 of the season. Yeah. You don't want to see that because but they're still working through this new cadence, new offense, and there's some growing pains. I mean,
I would much rather see the adversity now in preseason than the regular season because we already know, this is the NFL. Right, there's going to be adversity. You're going to go on, a 3-4 game losing streak. It's just how it goes. Especially, I think with a new regime and a new coach. So, it's going to be very curious to see how you're going to respond to that with such I don't want to say a player-friendly coach, but a coach that seems to relate to his players more than maybe like an old school type of approach, right? Where it's just like, all right, you guys are going to run, you guys are going to do this. Like, I think Liam Cohen, the thing that he brings to the table is communication and communicating with his players why we're doing these things. Well, why are we taking our baby steps right now and going back through, the basics of football? It's because you guys put a performance against the Pittsburgh Steelers that wasn't to his liking.
Yeah, looking at some numbers that came out this week, Daniel Griffiths of Action Sports actually posted the Jags had the fewest negative plays on offense of any team in the league last year, en route to winning 4 games, right? That's talking about runs that got stuff behind the line of scrimmage, penalties on offense, negative passing plays. So you'd think a team that only won 4 games is going to be very high in that category. There'd be a lot of room for improvement. It's kind of scary to look at the fact that they were that clean compared to the rest of the league and still only won 4 games. But Liam Cohen said it when he got here. You're not going to be able to beat other teams unless you stop beating yourself first. And the Jags right now look like a team that is going to be beating themselves early in the season if they don't get this cleaned up.
It starts on the offensive line as well. We mentioned some of the changes this week on the offensive line, rotating some players around the line throughout practice, but it's perfect for offensive coordinator Grant Udinski to get different looks.
We have had some injuries, guys go in and out, even temporary injuries where guys miss a drive, and those have been opportunities for other guys to step up and play different positions. So you probably see out there today, we have multiple guys play on different sides, play guard, play tackle, inside, outside, different centers. So it's great that those guys have the ability to do that, and we have the chance to get that type of work.
It's Grant Udinski, the offensive coordinator, and not just going from tackle to guard, but going from right to left. Austen, you played the defensive side of the ball, but it is a totally different world, and to have multiple players that can flip across the center is huge.
No, without a doubt. But I was, and maybe the person that I ended up replacing can speak on this more, being Tony Vaselli and everything. But I always felt like even with offensive linemen, there has to be a spot that they're more comfortable with, right? Like, it's great to have offensive linemen that can play guard, play right tackle, play left tackle, but there's always a preference. I remember the guys that I played with back in 2010 and so on, like they always had a preference where they wanted to line up. I assume it's still the same. It's the more you can do, the better, but where can you set these guys up for success the most? And I think when we talk about this Jaguars team the past decade, and this is more on defense now, me speaking, but they put guys in spots where maybe they weren't best suited for, where you got the most out of. I think that could be a question now with offensive line as well.
Hey, versatility is great, but it's kind of a protection against injury. I want to see how good the starting 5 can be when they are healthy. And again, going back to what we talked about right at the top, they haven't settled on that 5 yet.
Let's go to defense now. Anthony Campanelli, the defensive coordinator, with some of the issues coming out of last week's loss to the Steelers.
Got to do a better job with communication. I think that's probably the number one thing. That's just everywhere, even sideline operation, all that stuff. So I think a lot of that stuff, first game, preseason, you see stuff like that, and you get better at everything. Well, that's what we're focused on right now. I think the guys have done a great job of that the last 2 days. So working hard and getting that right. And they did a lot of good things, too.
That's the coordinator. And now Trayvon Walker on how the group finds a defensive identity. Where does it start?
It takes us just coming in, being ourselves every day, being true to ourselves as far as we obviously know it's a physical sport. We all want to come up here and be physical, but at the end of the day, it's either you're going to win or you're going to lose, and don't nobody want to lose. So coming in with that mindset, I feel like as far as with our defensive perspective, we want to be physical, we want to stop the run, and that's our main focus first.
That's Trayvon Walker, of course, Jags defensive end. Couple things there, of course. Campanelli, just throwing it all out there. Some sideline operation things, communicate. He's not going to hide it, and they're going to go work on it.
Without a doubt, and it's going to be a big test, I think, too, playing against the Saints, because you guys got me watching preseason Saints football. So I had to go back and watch the first game that they played in. And with Kellen Moore's new offense, like, you're used to seeing the New Orleans Saints just have that traditional offense, not really sexy, just kind of meat and potatoes. Kellen Moore brings the motion in now and everything. Like, it's going to keep this Jaguars defense, I feel like, on their toes. Now, it's not going to be the entire playbook, the entire kitchen sink being thrown at this Jaguars defense, but there's going to be some motion, there's going to be some trickery, and I think, what we saw last week against the Steelers, they got to communicate better.
Yeah, but it all goes back to what Trayvon said. If you can't stop the run, you can't have a defensive identity, right? Because teams that are going to dictate against you all game long. Now, the Jags weren't bad against the run last week. Now, Pittsburgh wasn't running all their frontline guys, but I thought the run defense wasn't that bad. But the pass defense was so porous that it really didn't matter. So Trayvon's right. You got to be able to control the game, not let them dominate you in that aspect, because the Jags' strength is their pass rushers, and unless you put them in position to succeed, it's not going to matter that much.
There you have it, some of the best sound of the week, and the new season is right around the corner, and the time to get your 2025 season ticket membership is now. They're still on sale. Be at the bank for every touchdown. Secure your seats at jaguars.com/tickets or call 904-633-2000. Plenty ahead. We'll return and hear from Dennis Gardeck. Linebacker, 8th-year pro, did not play last week, could get time today, and could be a contributor on defense and special teams, and Pete Prisco's perspective on today's game. The Jags and the Saints coming up at 1 o'clock at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, and this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans. This season, feed your fandom with the Jaguars sub from Publix, the official supermarket of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Sink your teeth into crispy chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, melted cheddar, sweet coleslaw, and smoky barbecue mayo, all stacked on a fresh white roll. Taste the hype only at Jacksonville Publix locations. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Right Now Power Sports is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars football fires up your Sundays, and a Yamaha boat or wave runner brings on-the-water thrills to get you through the other 6 days of the week. Check out the extensive Yamaha watercraft selection that must go at the Right Now Power Sports Beach Boulevard and Jacksonville locations. Their prices will not be beat. You and the Jaguars can both win this season. Just mention Jaguars at the time of your purchase. Online at ridenow.com.
Floridians, do you know how close you are to freshness? It's not a plane or a ship ride away. It's not across an ocean or over the equator. It's not even a far drive. The peak of freshness is at your grocery store, and it's called Fresh from Florida. Fresh from Florida is local produce grown by farmers right here in our own state, meaning it's always fresh, always in season, and always mouth-wateringly good. Look for the sunny Fresh from Florida logo or ask for it by name where you shop.
2 hours ago, Kyle arrived at the bar.
Hey, what's everyone drinking?
30 minutes ago, Kyle got his friends another round of drinks.
Cheers!
5 minutes ago, Kyle decided to drive home drunk. A minute ago, a law enforcement officer pulled up behind Kyle.
Sir, have you been drinking tonight?
A chain of events that began 2 hours ago is about to change Kyle's whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Brought to you by FDOT.
Hey fans, it's Tyson Campbell, cornerback for your Jacksonville Jaguars. This season, make your game day even tastier with Al's Pizza in the stadium. And you can enjoy even more with the pizza pick-off promo after the game. When the Jaguars get 2 interceptions in one game, you'll score 50% off one pizza any size you want for 48 hours after the game. Just tell them you want the Jags Pick promo when you order. Up your game and your pizza with Al's at the stadium or any of their locations.
Champions are built from the support and encouragement they get from the team around them. No one knows that better than Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr.
As one of the nation's largest pediatric health systems, Nemours Children's Health gives hope to future champions every day to go well beyond their limits. Together, we can redefine children's health. We are Nemours Children's Health.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, and Austen Lane from the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center in Jacksonville. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff time for the Jags and the Saints at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. And preseason week 2, Mike. And you always have a chance. We always love your conversations with Pete Prisco.
Yeah, I love your conversations with Pete Prisco on Mondays as well. So, yeah, Pete's always fun, but obviously well plugged in with the Jags, and just wanted to get some reflections before we talked about this week's matchup on what he thought about Trevor Lawrence's performance last week.
Well, I thought one of the most impressive things was the changes in Trevor Lawrence. And, they're might not be noticeable to everybody, but if you look at it, he's tightened up his motion. I think he's tightened up the way he strides. It's not as long as it was. It looks quicker. He just looks like all the stuff he said he worked on in the offseason, it kind of carried over. And that was one thing we wanted to see, Mike. We wanted to see if he'd be able to carry that over when there were people around him. And it did, at least for now. And so I think it's a good start for him.
All right, what about the opposite side? I know there's plenty correctable, but what was the most glaring to you?
Sloppy. There was a lot of slop. And by that I mean you put on the tape and you see a lot of, guys on defense particularly looking around before the snap, kind of, what are we doing, and looking at each other. And I think that's something that was a problem last year, and it's something they need to fix. Some pre-snap penalties as well. I think all the sloppiness is you can expect some of it, but I think, the mechanics of playing defense and being ready for the snap, I think that has to be much better. And I think they will be, because I think they made a priority of it this week to kind of bang that into their head that they have to be better at it.
Well, they did have a scrimmage this week that I was not able to attend in person, but all the reporting was it was kind of sloppy again, Pete. A lot of drops, a lot of penalties there. I mean, how much of that kind of stuff can you get cleaned up with only 3 weeks to go now?
Well, you can get it cleaned up. I just think it's got to be a focus. Sometimes you get to the dog days of training camp and you start trying to survive, and that's when the mental part goes away. And that's when you have to be better at it. And so I think it's a challenge, not just in Jacksonville's camp, but around the league, because there are sloppy moments. And you get to this point and you say, okay, you played a preseason game, you got another one coming up, and then maybe one more with most of the veterans not doing anything. Then you get to a week off, and then you got a real game. And you're looking ahead to that because you've been in camp for 3 weeks. So I think the sloppiness kind of comes as a byproduct of that. But again, the better teams kind of handle it, and they deal with the mental part of it a lot better than the other teams.
Let's talk about a player who's been having a terrific camp, and that's Parker Washington, Pete. He seems to make a play or two, that catches your eye every time we're out at practice. Listed on the unofficial depth chart as her primary punt and kickoff returner. As the fourth wide receiver, how much run will Parker Washington get in this offense? He's certainly, I think, up for whatever they put on his plate.
Well, what it does is I think it helps ease the burden of making sure that Travis Hunter is on the offensive side all the time. He's going to be this. I think Travis Hunter will play almost every snap on defense. I think that's the plan. And then spot him in on offense. Ideally, they'd like to get him, 35, 40 snaps on offense, maybe more. But if Parker Washington is doing what he's doing, then it doesn't necessarily mean that Travis Hunter has to play as much. It gives you some flexibility there. But more than that, it gives you flexibility into next year. If Washington can do things, and, Dyami Brown's on a one-year deal, so you start peeking ahead. What are you going to do if Dyami Brown doesn't have a great season? Do you decide to keep Parker Washington around, keep him here and make sure he's part of the future, and then put Travis Hunter more on the offensive side of the ball? So I think there's some flexibility with how Parker Washington has played, because there's no question he's become a much better player than he was a year ago.
Brian Thomas has shown a little bit of frustration. He's had some drops, some pass breakups. It's not like he has just stepped in and shown us the form that he was in the last 5 or 6 games of the year. Any concern there, or is he just so good that this is going to get worked out?
No, remember, Jamar Chase had problems dropping balls once upon a time. And we saw during the regular season, I think last year, you saw Brian Thomas was fine without the drops. So I'm not concerned about that. He just needs to be healthy. I mean, he has to, he's got dinged up a couple times. He got dinged up at minicamp. He got dinged up this week. Nothing major, but he's got to be the guy that has to be the focal point of the offense, and he has to stay on the field. So I think that's the priority. The drops aren't going to be a problem during the season.
All right, quickly, Pete, speaking of health, Mason Smith back and cleared to practice. And, in terms of the short term, don't need to see him on the field this week. But how big is that for this team that's been pretty beat up at the defensive tackle position?
As big as he is. I mean, they have to have him. He's the one guy. If you point to a guy that needs to make growth and become a major part of what they do on the defensive side of the ball, I think it's Mason Smith. And I think he has the talent to do that. And by every person I've talked to in the organization, he's had a great offseason. He just got dinged up before the season, and they kind of were a little cautious with him. So I think he's one of the most important people on that team in terms of what he can do as a defensive tackle, because right now their defensive tackles are not very good.
CBS Sports senior writer Pete Prisco each and every week here on the Publix Tailgate Show, and again on Jaguars Happy Hour Monday 4 to 6 on 1010XL. A lot to dive through here, guys, but I think I was intrigued by the wide receiver conversation you had there with the Mike. And Parker Washington, Brian Thomas Jr. had a sick day, I think, early in the week. Mm-hmm. And that was the Parker Washington day at practice. I mean, he was catching everything, over players one-on-one, I mean, deep down the field. He's kind of that X factor, right? He's the guy that you might not think of first line in the wide receiver room, but he'll be very valuable for this group, Parker.
Well, you got a couple of guys that we don't know if they're going to play today, Austen, right? Yeah. So I feel like Parker Washington, even if he has a big day, it's not surprising at this point. We've seen him play very well throughout this training camp. Brian Thomas has shown some frustration out there, whether it's miscommunication with Trevor Lawrence, his own drops, some tight coverage at times. But I've been reminded, you go back to last year, they had that joint practice with the Bucs. Yeah. That was kind of his coming out party, right? And those guys on the other side realized, wait a minute, they've got something in Jacksonville that's pretty special. So I'm hopeful that he can get something rolling today, but really looking forward to that practice coming up with Miami this week.
It was great stuff from Pete. He didn't mention that he actually watched the All-22 film, which is surprising because he always seems to mention that. So maybe he didn't get the cut this week from All-22. But no, when you talk about Parker Washington, the guy has shown up time and time again in training camp, right? And that's one thing. And then can you do it when the lights are on? Well, he did it pretty well against Pittsburgh, so he's earned his opportunity to get more reps, especially in the Saints game where we don't know about Travis Hunter yet. And I get it. We talk about Brian Thomas Jr. We see him in training camp. There were some drops and everything, some frustration. For whatever reason, there's some guys where, in terms of training camp, like they're just okay in terms of practices, but then when the lights are the brightest, they shine the most. I mean, I'm reminded of a couple years ago in Calvin Ridley when he was here. I saw him in training camp and practices thinking this guy's going to be a 2,000-yard receiver, and obviously he never got there. He's in Tennessee now. Brian Thomas Jr. was a little quieter for his first year of training camp, but then, once again, towards the end of the season, dude was unstoppable. So, yeah, I do put some stake into what guys do at practice, but I watch him even more when the lights are on.
Maybe he's just not a morning person. Maybe it's
that's what JP told me earlier.
You know what I mean?
Like,
8:30 in the morning,
okay.
9, it's early.
Look, for the record, not at all worried about Brian Thomas. He's to me, he's the best player on the team. He's the most talented guy. He's had 1 year. He was outstanding during that year. I think he'll be fine. But, you'd like to hear how nobody in the Jags can keep up with him. He scored another couple of touchdowns in team every day, but that's just not realistic.
PRI Productions, the official event production company of the Jaguars, has everything you need to bring your next idea to life. Visit PRIProductions.com. Now to the defensive side of the ball. And linebacker Dennis Gardeck joined the Jags in free agency this offseason. He had 7 years with the Arizona Cardinals, an undrafted player, and he's coming off a second ACL injury in his career. He explained this week when I talked to him after practice his mindset during the recovery to finally get on the field for the Jaguars.
There was so much out of my control that I feel like it was really easy just for me to focus on what I can do, and that was wake up every morning, give great effort and attitude into each day of rehab, and then, it's not my job to find where I'm playing next year. It's not my job to, rush myself back out on the field. It's trust the PTs. I've had an incredible team around me. K2 and West back in Arizona. Ferg and Bach have put together a great plan out here. So it's just trusting, one, they're so much smarter than I am. They had a great plan for me. It's my job just to not screw it up. So that's what I've just been doing each and every day.
Did the history that you've had help you in this instance? Because it's happened before, right?
Yep, absolutely. So this is second time around in the league, third time total. With the last one, I gritted my teeth through everything. I was coming off that 2020 season. I wanted to prove I wasn't a one-hit wonder, that I can really do this. This time around, I learned a lot from that process, and I was so exhausted by the time I got back to the season that I felt like it hurt my game. So this time, just trusting the process, not over-forcing things, especially early on when it's just about that mobility and stuff, taking time. I have a son now, so being able to spend time with him and get a little bit of extra family time was super important to me. But I feel fresh. I feel clear-minded and excited for this year.
Dennis, what does this defense do for you? How do you fit in to what they're trying to do schematically? Yeah, just honestly, the intensity is really what I feed off of. It's so exciting to see Jarian and J-Lu just selling out for the ball. Everybody up front rushing, and the guys in our room are just coming downhill and whacking things. So for me, this period right now is about, earning trust and respect with my teammates. So I want to continue this brand of football that they've started. It's exciting to be a part of, and I want to meet the standard and help raise it. There's a high standard on special teams around here as well. You still plan to contribute there, and what have you noticed about the way they operate on all four core? Yeah, another electric unit. Definitely looking forward to being a part of it. Flying around, having fun, celebrating with each other,
and just knowing that, like, we're the better group taking the field, and just carrying that kind of confidence through the echo of the whistle, everybody celebrating together is something I'm really looking forward to.
Didn't play last week. Do you need to play? How much do you want to play? Are you feeling 100% back to normal? What about this week against the Saints?
Yeah, I feel really good. I'm just following Bach and Ferg's plan, so whatever they have planned for me.
Dennis Gardeck, linebacker, following orders. That's what he does.
And whacking things.
And whacking things, coming downhill, playing special teams. And, I mean, Austen, the guy's been in the league. He's really built a career from, I mean, he was an undrafted player out of Sioux Falls, of all things.
Yeah.
It's amazing what he's done.
Well, and it's wild, too, because if I go to, like, a police sketch artist and I say, draw me somebody from Sioux Falls, that's the guy we're getting. Just seeing his picture that came up, and that's a Sioux Falls guy through and through, not only by the look and the style and the long hair and the tattoos, but also just the intensity that he seems to bring on a football field. And I remember, during the Jaguars preseason and everything, we're still there, but, like, this is, I guess, more of the draft period when we talked about intangibly rich. This is a guy who's intangibly rich, right? You can put him on defense, you put him on special teams. He's going to give everything that he's got, 100% effort, and he's pretty dependable at that.
Yeah, I think health is the biggest question mark. If he stays healthy, I think he challenges Emmanuel Ogbah in terms of who's the third most important pass rusher on this football team, at least not counting the defensive tackles.
Yeah, and they'll kind of use him in different areas. Of course, special teams, big part of it there. He's going to hopefully contribute in some instances on that part of the field as well. So good addition, right? So far, we'll see.
Yeah.
The knee's the big question mark, but he's gone through this process before, as he talked about. So
yeah, I mean, this guy's a pro, right? And part of being a pro is listening to your body and knowing what it needs and when to kind of back off a little bit. I mean, I trust his process and everything, and hopefully when we're talking about week 1 against Carolina, he'll be 100% ready to go.
Plenty ahead. Coming up in about 15 minutes, Jeff Lageman and Bucky Brooks join us in the booth at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. Up next, though, back to the wide receiver room. Dyami Brown explains how he fits in this Jags offensive scheme. The Jaguars and the Saints coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern in New Orleans. And this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans. This season, feed your fandom with the Jaguars sub from Publix, the official supermarket of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Wow! Sink your teeth into crispy chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, melted cheddar, sweet coleslaw, and smoky barbecue mayo, all stacked on a fresh white roll. Taste the hype only at Jacksonville Publix locations. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Catch epic showdowns in Cincinnati and Denver. Turn up the heat in Phoenix and Las Vegas. Support your Jaguars in divisional clashes in Houston, Nashville, and Indianapolis. View real-time parking, security, and flight updates on flyjacks.com. Whether you stick with the play call or you need an audible, they'll be your teammate every step of the way. Book your nonstop flights today. Learn more at flyjacks.com.
To aim higher, run faster. It's what elite athletes do. Always strive for better. At UF Health, we have that same DNA. To not just treat a stroke, but to create a fleet of mobile stroke treatment units. To not just do research, but to use AI to save lives with one of the most powerful supercomputers in academia. We believe, like athletes, that human progress has no finish line. UF Health, National Medical Center for Team USA.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at Everbank Stadium because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over 70 years of authentic Southern Pit Barbecue. We are the local barbecue joint in BBQval for generations of people in Jacksonville. Go to bonosbarbecue.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Hey, fellow Floridians, it's Ben.
And Brianna Smith. We are foodies who love sharing recipes online.
And trying new cooking techniques on our new natural gas stove.
He loves his precise temperature control on the heat.
Yeah, I also love saving money and using less energy.
Oh, watch that flame.
So, who loves to be in control?
Now earn up to a $300 cashback rebate for installing a new energy-efficient natural gas range or stovetop. To learn more, go to peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, Everbank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, Austen Lane. We're at the Hyundai Studios in Jacksonville ahead of the Jaguars and the Saints at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff time in preseason week number 2. We earlier touched on some of the wide receivers in the room. Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington. I don't think we've mentioned the name today of Dyami Brown, Austen, and what he could bring to this offense.
You know, I remember before the draft, we talked to Tony Baselli a little bit, and I was a little skeptical about how much Tony Baselli was praising Dyami Brown and what he could bring to this offense, right? And, you know, we're all thinking, like, okay, are they going to draft somebody else? And, yes, they do get Travis Hunter and everything, but I think Dyami Brown is going to be a huge part because you always kind of need that X factor that no one's really talking about, right? Like, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I'm putting it on the board, who are the game wreckers that we have to worry about from the Jacksonville Jaguars? With all due respect to Dyami Brown, I'm not really concerned about him, right? I'm more worried about Brian Thomas Jr. I'm more worried about the run game. I'm worried about Travis Hunter, what he can do as a rookie. Dyami Brown's kind of always like the forgotten guy, but it's those forgotten guys when the game's on the line that can make the most difference.
Look, he had a great offseason prior to training camp, right? And he was the target of a ton of Trevor Lawrence passes. They seemed like they had pretty good chemistry. Thought he got off to a slow start in camp, but I think he's kind of picked that up a little bit. And he's an easily forgotten guy, right? Because when you're out there, your attention's going to go to Brian Thomas, going to go to Travis Hunter. We see the kind of preseason that Parker Washington's having. And I want to see if Dyami Brown could be more consistent just as a field stretcher, right? We know he's got the speed. And you wonder, too, you know, Liam Cohen saw this firsthand in the playoffs last year as he was unstoppable against Tampa Bay. And really, you look at the totality of his career. It's not a guy you would say, let's give $10 million. On a one-year deal, the Jags didn't even get the, hey, we've got a team option for year 2 if you do blow up and play like this. So it's interesting the way they played it here. I'm cautiously optimistic about Dyami Brown.
And I caught up with him after practice this week, guys. And, yeah, he's excited to be here from the Washington Commanders the first 4 years in his career, settling into this new offense. And so far, he likes how it fits his skill set.
It's just being able to move around. I think the role that I have, you know, just coming in and being able to move around from coming into a different offense. You know, last year we was more spread, up tempo. Now that we have some things around that, you know, we're inside numbers, outside of numbers, things that can change and give different looks. So I think that allows me to, you know, to get a jet sweep or, you know, to go out for a deep pass or a short pass. You know, it allows me to be versatile in the offense.
Everybody else the same way, too. I mean, Brian Thomas, we know he's going to be outside, but you got Travis running around everywhere. Parker Washington's having a camp.
Oh, yeah.
This is a full wide receiver room.
Oh, yeah, it most definitely is. And I'm proud of, you know, the guys. And Parker, you know, he's been showing up big lately. And I'm liking the work that he's been putting in. And, you know, we all been doing the same thing, you know. So we can do the same thing, but we are just different types of receivers. So, I mean, that's good to have in the receiver group, you know, because we can all learn from each other as well. And I think, man, as long as we keep stacking days, we'll be good.
Is this the best situation you've had in your career going into a season in terms of personnel around you, offense, comfortability, your usage most likely? I mean, is this the best you've had in your career?
I just think it's the opportunity that's given. You know, there's always ways that I can learn, always in ways that I can get better. I think this opportunity here, you know, allows me to show the things that I can do. You know, just going off my previous years, I think this opportunity here is the best.
Dyami Brown with us. Give us some insight to Travis Hunter. One day one period you're lined up against him, and then the next period he's guarding you on defense. Have you seen anything like this before?
Yeah, not since high school. You know, I seen a lot of guys go both ways in high school, but, you know, this is the first time in the league that I've seen somebody go both ways, and he's doing pretty good on both sides. I like the work that he's putting in because he's learning it too. You know, he's learning the offense, he's learning the defense, that he can still go out there and compete at a high level, you know, so I'm proud of him.
What about defensively when he lines up against you? What shows out about his game, and you know, where can he maybe take some steps on defense?
I think for him, continue to stay patient but still be the athlete that he is. You can see that he has great ball skills. He can move very well. So I think him just being patient and staying on top of, you know, the receivers, I think he'll be pretty good.
All right, give us your relationship with Trevor. How has that grown since you showed up in the building in the offseason to now a few weeks into training camp, and where do you go from here offensively with your quarterback?
Oh, man, we just keep building the trust. You know, when I first came in, you know, we didn't really have too much chemistry. I knew him, you know, just from college playing against each other. But coming in, just keep building the chemistry, keep building the trust, him trusting me and I'm trusting him. Build that communication, you know, take it up a notch. And just keep working, that's it.
How about Coach Cohen and his first training camp as a head coach? Been around the league for, this is your 5th year in the league now. So how's his approach with the team meetings, reaction to the first game? How do you think he's done so far?
I think he's done a pretty good job. He wants us to go out there and compete. He wants us to be physical. He wants us to be fast. And we have those guys that are able to do that on both sides of the ball. So I think what he's doing is very good because it keeps that competitive nature around. You know, we want to win right now. We want to keep winning. And, you know, just going off week one, that preseason one, you know, it was a lot of things that we can learn from, and we're going to continue to grow.
What is, last one with you, how long does it take to build an offensive identity? Do you have to play regular season games to find that out? Can you find that out in training camp, preseason, or what's your opinion? Or what is it if you have one already?
Well, I think you find it, you know, first beginning of OTAs when we first come in. You know, everything is new, you know, so we want to find our identity there. We want to trust that process, trust what they're putting into us, you know, so we can get the best out of us. So I think it's all up to us depending on, you know, how we want to be at the end of the day, how we want to go out there and compete, how we want to show what we can do. So there's no time limit on when it's there. You know, we just have to do it on our own.
That is Dyami Brown, new Jaguars wide receiver, brought in free agency in this offseason, and excited to see what he really brings to the table day after day. So far, so good, and we'll see moving ahead how this group kind of gels together on the offensive side. Part of playing wide receiver, though, in an offense like this is blocking in the run game as well at times, and we haven't even touched on the running game today for the Jaguars and the questions at running back, and yet we've discussed the questions on the offensive line, which is part of this as well. But here we are with 5 running backs still on the roster, and all 5, I think, have shown glimpses of some success in this preseason.
Yeah, it seemed like, you know, most of the offseason, the momentum was with Tank Bigsby. You know, you go to every practice, the first rep of team went to Tank Bigsby over Travis Etienne. And then last week, Travis Etienne played exclusively with the ones. And so today is going to be very telling. Do they flip-flop that to give Bigsby that opportunity with the ones, or has Travis Etienne kind of gained a little bit of separation from himself and Bigsby? And then how big of a role, Austen, will Bajal Tutin carve out for this football team?
I mean, it's a giant question right now because it's running back by committee, I feel like, until proven further notice here. And with Travis Etienne, you go against the Steelers, and he was displayed more in the pass game, I feel like, than in the run game, right? I mean, he had an opportunity. You know, we broke it down actually last week on Monday with Pete Prisco on the All-22 where – you know, Travis Etienne kind of missed a wide open lane that kind of garnered him some pretty good yardage. So you have to have that vision, especially if they're going to count you as the starting running back. When we talk about now Tank Bigsby, obviously between the tackles, you're not worried about him, but how is he going to be in the pass game, right? Because I think in this Liam Cohen offense, the more you can do, the better. And then we've seen like LaQuinn Allen, I mean, guy can run between the tackles. Guy can be a pretty good receiver. And we talk about Tutin, where I think he showed something between the tackles, lowering his shoulder and getting that touchdown. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think it's a good problem to have right now in terms of guys that are pretty dynamic, that obviously I think want that starting spot. How it shakes out will come down to these preseason reps.
From the backyard to the beaches, the Ford F-150 with available Pro Power on board gives you the power of a mobile generator. Ford, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. See your local Ford dealer today. Coming up in about 15 minutes, it's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. We'll return, though, and head to the Superdome for the first time today. Jeff Lageman and Bucky Brooks standing by from the broadcast booth ahead of the Jaguars and the Saints in preseason week 2, a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff time. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans. This season, feed your fandom with the Jaguars sub from Publix, the official supermarket of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Sink your teeth into crispy chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, melted cheddar, sweet coleslaw, and smoky barbecue mayo, all stacked on a fresh white roll. Taste the hype only at Jacksonville Publix locations. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Big number 1 Duval Ford is trusted by Duval families, Duval businesses, and law enforcement across Florida. We're Jacksonville's largest Ford dealer by new Ford sales with the biggest service facility to keep everything in your driveway and in your fleet on the road. Shop Big number 1 Duval Ford on Cassett Avenue for our low prices and nationally recognized service-first experience. Big number 1 Duval Ford, proudly serving North Florida since 1916.
Restaurant Orsay is a bustling French-American bistro focusing on classic French techniques with their chefs incorporating a traditional Southern influence. Celebrate life's special moments or just relax and enjoy their daily happy hour. Restaurant Orsay also offers full-service catering for any of your event needs. Restaurant Orsay, located in historic Avondale at 3630 Park Street. Visit www.restaurantorsay.com.
The Jaguars bring performance, strength, and passion to every play. And you'll find the same when you bank with EverBank. Open an EverBank Performance Savings account and score serious savings. See what you could earn at everbank.com/Jaguars. EverBank, advantage you. Member FDIC and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
2 hours ago, Kyle arrived at the bar.
Hey, what's everyone drinking?
30 minutes ago, Kyle got his friends another round of drinks.
Cheers!
5 minutes ago, Kyle decided to drive home drunk. A minute ago, a law enforcement officer pulled up behind Kyle.
Sir, have you been drinking tonight?
A chain of events that began 2 hours ago is about to change Kyle's whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Brought to you by FDOT.
Hey, fellow Floridians, I'm Brenda Marie, pet parent to 7 precious pups, and a huge fan of natural gas. Hush, hush, you guys. When it's bath time, we love our natural gas tankless water heater. We get endless hot water when we need it, use less energy, and save money, too. Oh, yes, we do.
Now earn up to a $700 cashback rebate for installing a new energy-efficient natural gas water heater. To learn more, go to peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Tailgate Show, JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, Austen Lane from the Hyundai Studios of the Miller Electric Center in Jacksonville. Kickoff in New Orleans coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern at the Caesars Superdome. And let's head there now to the Heritage of North Florida broadcast booth at the Superdome. Jeff Lageman, Bucky Brooks, high atop the dome. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Morning, JP. Morning, Austen. Everybody good?
Morning. You're hanging in there. Let's get straight into Finding Solutions, presented by UF Health, the proud healthcare partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Some question marks, some guys dinged up this week on the offensive line, and then late in the week we hear about Travis Hunter with an upper body issue. What's the status? Are there some pregame workouts planned? What's going on with this group?
We're actually watching it right now. There's some guys warming up, but we can't tell if it's anything that's super important. It seems to be kind of casual. So I think whatever decision was going to be made, I think has already been made, but we don't know the answer to that yet.
Yeah, they're just beginning the first part of the warm-up. So you don't really get a full assessment on whether they're working out to gauge if someone's ready or if they're just working out to make sure they get a good day's work in.
I mean, obviously the guy you have to watch a little bit here, and then the warm-up is Anton Harrison. Went out of practice, not sure if he's going to play in this game or not. I mean, how much of a concern is there if Trevor Lawrence doesn't have his starting offensive line of how many reps Trevor Lawrence gets?
I think that's a really interesting thing to watch, Austen, because Anton was, I think, starting to take some snaps in practice at both right tackle, where he's been for a while, but also left tackle. And do you think, okay, well, maybe they're just doing that in case of injury? I think they were doing that to really take a look at finding the best 5 offensive linemen. And I think that the lower leg injury that Anton sustained Thursday in the scrimmage may have impacted maybe some of those plans, but I still believe, Bucky, that's something to keep an eye on.
It is something to keep an eye on. And, Jeff, we've talked. Putting the best 5 linemen on the field is the best option because you got your best players available to not only protect the quarterback but to run the ball. It's not about how they came in at their listed positions, but it's about putting the best guys on the field to give you the opportunity to do what you want to do on offense.
Yeah, and let me just add another name to that mix. I think that's a possible mention in the best 5 is Wyatt Milam. The rookie from West Virginia, the 3rd-round pick, has been, I think, exceptional. Every position that he's played, whether it's been left guard, left tackle, right guard, right tackle, and he's played everything except for center, he has been very good. And I will tell you this, the one thing he does better than anybody is the finish. He finishes better than anybody, and if you're trying to build a culture of running the football, what's not to like about that?
Hey, guys, way too sloppy last week to the degree that Liam Cohen ran a basically fundamentals-only practice earlier this week. How concerning is that with less than 4 weeks to go at the time he held that practice, that you've got to kind of dial it back to the basics at this point in training camp?
The great teams always stay on the basics. So to me, this is very reminiscent of when Jeff and I was playing for Coach Coughlin and how we would do the corrections on Monday, making sure that we have everybody on the same page. We're working together. We want to make sure that we clean up these issues now because in the National Football League, if you show a weakness, you're going to continue to see it until you fix it. To me, I commend the coaching staff for having the ability to recognize that and try and fix it right away.
Yeah, and Liam didn't shy away from that conversation at all. Neither did Anthony Campanelli, the defensive coordinator, and then that work continued throughout the week, and you fast forward past Monday to Thursday, which was the second scrimmage the team had. They were working the exercise, the mechanics of having a coach in the booth, getting the signal or the personnel grouping to the coordinator, and then the coordinator getting the call to the field, because if there's any interruption or delay in that communication, then the defender's eyes are not on the offense, and that's a problem, and that's something that's got to be improved in today's game.
I mean, speaking of improvement, you're going to take on a Saints team now with the Kellen Moore style of motions and everything. You're not going to get the full kitchen sink, but it's going to keep the defense honest. Guys, if we have a repeat performance that we saw against the Steelers for this Jaguars defense, is this starting to be their identity, and should you be worried, or is this more of just a preseason problem, just kind of trying to iron out some of the kinks?
I mean, it's a preseason game, but it's practice. And so I actually hope Kellen Moore empties the bucket a little bit and shows them all the funny stuff, because you want to see it so you can have answers to it. You want your guys to be tried a little bit during the preseason, so when we get to the regular season, we have these things ironed out. So even if we have a couple issues and they blow an assignment or two, that is okay, because what you want to do is make sure as we're getting closer to the regular season, we're cleaning up these issues, so when we start against the Carolina Panthers, we're ready to go.
Yeah, and I'm going to be anxious to see and how much of a game plan that they actually have. They're expected to start Tyler Shuck, the second-round pick out of Louisville. And this is kind of the no-name battle in the National Football League right now with the New Orleans Saints quarterback position. Most teams are looking at them as, I think, inferior just because they have the unsettled quarterback position. Many kind of surprised that they haven't made an attempt to trade for Kirk Cousins, who obviously is a backup and probably available at a fair price. So it'll be interesting to watch the Saints quarterbacks play today against this Jags defense.
Yeah, I don't know if the Saints want to, after giving up a second-round pick, actually add a vet who may win a few games and take him out of the quarterback sweepstakes next year if necessary, guys. But inside in the Dome today, what's the range for Cam Little?
Mike, I would say 72. I mean, but the circumstances have to be perfect, right? I mean, it's got to be a last-second kick. at the end of either half. But, yeah, I'd say 72. Bucky, he made one in practice, 72.
I mean, that's great info to know that he can go to 72. I think we're probably done experimenting with the 70-yarders. I would like to see him take some 50-yarders and get that, make sure he's super consistent at that range. But, look, it was exciting to see him nail a 70-yarder last week.
Guys, let's dig a little deeper on this roster now. Liam Cohen, I think the other day, said they might have close to 50 of the spots already almost mentally decided. That means there's only a handful of spots remaining for guys trying to fight for special teams roles. Who are some of the guys that really need some performances this week, next week in the practice against the Dolphins, and in the game next week to crack their way onto this 53? Who are some of those special teamers that you need to see stand out?
I think it's a great question, and there's a couple guys to keep an eye on. And I'll start with Bucky with the offense position you played, wide receiver, because, they kind of had Tim Jones in that comfortable role over the last couple of years, and now they don't really have a guy that's there. But there's some that I believe that has a chance. And I'll go to the undrafted guy from Elon, Chandler Brayboy, number 15 for those that are watching the game on TV. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. He's got the measurements that speaks of being a special teams player, and he's got the attitude. You watch him play on special teams, he's more than willing. As a blocker on offense, Bucky, he's more than willing to do that as well.
Yeah, no, you talk about the special teams being a big factor. You're right about wide receiver. They also talked about Josh Cephas showing up, Austen Trammell continue to do things in the return game. But honestly, when I think about special teams, to me, I'm thinking about the DBs and I'm thinking about the safeties. If you're not a starter, you have to be a major factor. That's Antonio Johnson. Can he make plays to be around? Can some of these linebackers show up and make plays? Because we talk about getting to 50, you only have 53. You have to be able to do it in the third phase of the game.
I'm going to add one other name to you for that linebacking position, Branson Combs.
Yes.
I think this guy makes this football team as a special teamer, and you know what? His play at linebacker, I think, has been better than your draft pick, Jack Kaiser. And you might be able to make the argument that he's one of your best three linebackers right now.
Gentlemen, have a great call. We'll talk to you a little bit later today. Appreciate
it. Thank you, boys.
Jeff Lageman. Bucky Brooks joining us from the Superdome in New Orleans. We are closing in on kickoff, just about 2 hours away now from the Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints. Up next, it's the second hour of the Publix Tailgate Show. We'll have the top stories of the day and plenty more ahead of the Jags and the Saints. A 1 o'clock kickoff time Eastern in preseason week 2. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio. Welcome back. Publix Tailgate Show continuing as the Jaguars and the Saints will lock horns today at 1 o'clock Eastern, preseason week 2 in the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, and plenty to discuss. We'll have the second hour of the show coming up shortly, guys. But looking forward to seeing, as we just talked about with Bucky and Logs, yeah, those battles for the roster, Austen. I mean, these weeks are critical for guys that are right on the bubble.
Yeah, and, I do appreciate Liam Cohen kind of being transparent and saying he probably knows 50 guys have already made the team, right? So there's maybe 4 or 5 spots left to open there. And, yeah, I mean, if I'm on the bubble, and I've been on the bubble before, right? And it can be a stressful situation, but at the same time, it's the game of football. So just do what you got to do.
All right, let's come back in a moment. Hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show when we return on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans. This season, feed your fandom with the Jaguars sub from Publix, the official supermarket of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Wow! Sink your teeth into crispy chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, melted cheddar, sweet coleslaw, and smoky barbecue mayo, all stacked on a fresh white roll. Taste the hype only at Jacksonville Publix locations. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Can you imagine rising for work before the crack of dawn? Tending to hundreds of acres of land before dusk? Well, that's what happens on 47,000 Florida farms every day. Florida's farmers work hard to grow nutritious food for you and your family. And you can help support them by enjoying delicious Fresh from Florida produce. Look for the sunny Fresh from Florida logo where you shop, or visit freshfromflorida.com to learn more.
Mr. Chubby's Wings is a whole lot more than just wings. Craving the ultimate game day experience? Look no further. Swing by Mr. Chubby's and indulge in the biggest and best wings in town, all while soaking up the lively atmosphere with fellow sports fans. With plenty of game day specials and locations on the West Side, Fleming Island, Ponte Vedra Beach, and new this season, Everbank Stadium, they're here for all your game day needs. Mr. Chubby's Wings is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Mr. Chubby's Wings, before the game, after the game, and during the game.
My husband, Steve, was diagnosed with prostate cancer. They only gave him months to live. That was years ago. Now, he's out there, under the tree. Nature photography is his thing. And apparently, so is catching poison ivy.
Oof, so itchy. UF Health. Human progress has no finish line.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Catch epic showdowns in Cincinnati and Denver. Turn up the heat in Phoenix and Las Vegas. Support your Jaguars in divisional clashes in Houston, Nashville, and Indianapolis. View real-time parking, security, and flight updates on flyjacks.com. Whether you stick with the play call or you need an audible, they'll be your teammate every step of the way. Book your nonstop flights today. Learn more at flyjacks.com.
It's the summer sales event with the Ford Groom.
Sam, 30 seconds on the clock. The Ford Summer Sales Event.
Great time to buy.
Correct. What do we have amazing deals on this summer?
Ford trucks and SUVs.
Is Ford America's all-time best-selling auto brand?
Let me think. Yeah, it is.
3 for 3.
What do I win?
You get to work at the Ford Summer Sales Event.
Amazing. I think I was going to do that anyway.
You betcha.
Based on Automotive News Almanac historical data and industry-reported sales data from 1909 through 2024 CY.
The Publix Tailgate Show continues right now.
It is hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. It's preseason week 2. We're 2 hours away from the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. It's a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff time today. JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, Austen Lane at the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center. A rare Sunday day preseason game, Mike.
I'll take it. I like it.
Out of here early.
You know, it'd be better a Saturday day preseason game, so we'd have Sunday off. But no, we'll take it. It's got to get in regular season mode, JP. How else are we going to do it? Got a lot of 1 o'clock kickoff.
It's perfect for that, certainly. We've got a few weeks away from week 1 against the Carolina Panthers in Austin. A lot of work to be done for this team, and they were busy on the practice field this week in so many ways in the aftermath of that Steelers loss, breaking it down to the simplest things on defense, and then the offense trying to fight through a tough day in the scrimmage on Thursday.
Yeah, I think we put a lot of emphasis on the first preseason game of the year because that's when you get probably your most starters getting the most playing time. But this is an important game as well, right? Because this will probably be the last time in terms of a game situation where we're going to see a lot of these guys. One would think when you go to Miami, you're going to have that, I think it's 1 practice this year in terms of the Miami Dolphins. And then that last preseason games, I think you're going to rest a lot of the starters. So this is kind of going to be like our last impression that we can see what this team's going to bring to the table.
Look, you don't want to make too much out of the preseason and mistakes that are made, but we're not the head coach. We didn't call the fundamentals only practice at the beginning of the week, so clearly Liam Cohen didn't like what he saw out there last week. I don't think it's everybody overreacting. Again, if you beat Carolina, whatever happened in the preseason, it's not really going to matter, right? You can look great if you lose to Carolina and people are just going to be as upset.
What do you guys think is more telling about this team? Having that fundamentals practice or having like that scrimmage that they had Thursday where it seemed to be like a real game mode there? Like what's more telling to you guys?
I think the fundamentals practice is for me, but you're a former player. You probably have a better insight into this than we would, but teams will scrimmage against each other and they, it's a controlled environment and things like that. But, basically going back to the drawing board and saying we're taking this back to the lowest level and you need to learn how to line up properly. Your cleats have to be in the ground. In other words, when the ball's snapped, be ready to play. And there was some of that last week. And I get it. It's first-time head coach, first-time coordinators, all that's fine. But, again, we'll see how practice is handled this week. Let's put it that way, right? Let's hope we don't have those kind of mistakes made again, and we'll be beyond this.
And I could go the other way with it, too. The scrimmage, the second scrimmage they've had.
Yeah.
They had one in the stadium, of course, before preseason week 1, and then to have another and have some of the coaches that are in the booth upstairs on game day in the balcony upstairs. The full operation was on display of how do we communicate to the sideline? How does the sideline communicate to the player? How do the players communicate in live game, as live as a game situation they can have on a practice field? And they went through the whole thing and the timing and the game. And I mean, it was 4 quarters and it was as full of a scrimmage as you'll find on a practice field.
And that was probably even a little more surprising than kind of slowing things down a little bit with the fundamentals, because you can do that at a walkthrough. Like, I get it. If you come back from a game and guys aren't lined up properly, guys are, they kind of have their heads in a beehive, as Quincy Williams referred to it last year. I think it was last year, 2 years ago, when he was here, about having his head in a beehive. Like when we talk about a full-fledged scrimmage where it feels like a game, I think that speaks volumes, because I was surprised, number one, they did that, but then I was also surprised, number two, that the starters will still be playing. I thought, okay, you're going to do that scrimmage on a Thursday, you're going to rest the guys then for this game on Sunday and just play the 2s and the 3s. I'm a little surprised that the 1s are still playing, but obviously you're going to like to see that.
Game day weather brought to you by the St. Johns River Water Management District. Waterless here in Jacksonville today. Currently 83 degrees, a high of 85 in the forecast, and about a 40% chance of rain coming up in about an hour from now, 35% or so at the 1 o'clock kickoff time, and then just cloudy the rest of the day today. In New Orleans, air-conditioned comfort inside the Caesars Superdome. Here are some of today's top stories, starting with the Jaguars last week dropping the preseason Week 1 game to the Steelers, and plenty to work on for the team in the aftermath. Head coach Liam Cohen explaining the approach after Monday's practice, back to basics.
Alignment, assignment, getting our cleats in the ground when we have a call on both sides of the ball. Fundamentals. We did a 40-play alignment assignment period of just getting the call, getting our cleats in the ground, making loud guttural communication, getting the calls in quickly. That was what we were really kind of focusing on from an emphasis standpoint. Obviously, some of these guys are going to be a little bit sore that played a lot of snaps in the game, so we were trying to really hone in on the mind, got conditioning out of it kind of as well.
That's Liam Cohen earlier this week after Monday's practice, and it's our first real glimpse at how he's going to handle adversity. I use some air quotes, but it is, they came out of a game that they didn't succeed and they had some issues. How does a first-time head coach address those issues? And we're seeing it here this week.
Yeah,
right?
There's got to be consequences when guys make the same mistakes over and over again, right? And that's probably kind of the disturbing thing. We can debate what's more important, what's more significant, the fundamentals practice, the scrimmage. Well, they had the fundamentals practice, and then they went to the scrimmage, and they had a bunch of penalties and mistakes in the scrimmage to the point where they're going to play a lot of those starters today. So, did they learn from that experience? I guess, Austen. And look, game day on Sunday is much more important than anything that you do during the week of practice, but the early results were not that positive.
No, and especially a team that is so built on communication, like that has to come from the head coach down to the coordinators down to the players, and eventually when this thing really takes off like they hope it's gonna, you want to echo it to your captains and your leaders on this team, and they can kind of monitor everything. I remember playing in Kansas City with Andy Reid. Everyone thinks Andy Reid's this big rah guy, gets guys motivated. Couldn't be any more of the opposite. But he had a lot of guys there in Kansas City when I first got there, his first year, where he just relied on guys like Eric Berry. He relied on guys like Justin Houston, Tamba Ali to kind of share his message, right? That's what we're trying to get to right now. You have some great players on this team and some good leaders, but they have to get that message across, and right now they're still learning how to.
But now part of this, you've been in the locker room, so you have to have performance before you have that ability to reach out and have the team listen to you, right?
No, of course. Well, whether it's a quarterback, whether it's any position, I mean, if you want to be a leader, on a football team, sure, maybe you're an eloquent speaker, maybe you do good in the weight room, maybe you do good at practice, but it's another thing to actually back it up when it means the most in games. And until you can see that in the preseason, then echo that to the regular season games, it doesn't matter what you say. It's about what you do.
But there are guys on this team that have had individual success, right? Mm-hmm. Particularly like Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon's becoming that guy, Foye Oluokun, Jordan Lewis, who is new to the environment, but he's not afraid to express his opinion. So even if you haven't had a lot of team success, guys that are playing well within whatever that system, I think they have the cachet to make those kind of comments.
To that point, let's hear from Trevor Lawrence, Jaguars quarterback. And, yes, a lot of pre-snap penalties on the offensive side in practice and in last week's game. What can be done to work out those issues?
I mean, it's, pre-snap stuff. There's always a little bit of that in camp, but the amount we've had has been a little too sloppy for the offense that we want to be. If we want to be a great offense, you have to be really smart, not make those mistakes that hurt yourself, obviously execute. And I think the execution has been actually decent once the ball snapped, but the other stuff before the snap, you don't ever get a chance if you don't do that right. So there's been some stuff that we just have to lock in on the details. For me as a quarterback, got to operate a little cleaner. Let's get up to the line faster so guys can communicate and think and have time to, process and, remind each other of the cadence, all those things. It's all of us in it. We just have to be sharper.
That's quarterback Trevor Lawrence, and to the point we were just talking about, the quarterback's a little different because he's the franchise quarterback, and he's had not a lot of success over the last couple years. He's had some success in his past, but he's a quarterback. He's not the style, though, where he's not going to rip guys by the face mask and rattle their cage. That's just not his approach, but I'm sure he has a style that players are opening up to.
No, without a doubt. And it really reminds me of when I was in Kansas City once again with Alex Smith. Alex Smith was, I don't want to say he was like necessarily a franchise quarterback in Kansas City, but he was brought in to kind of calm things down a little bit. And when you talk about his personality and demeanor, he was never the guy that was leading the speeches or anything like that, but he was always the guy that was present, that answered any question and was always prepared, right? And then when Patrick Mahomes came in, then Mahomes takes over. So, yeah, I think this is the beauty about what Liam Cohen's bringing to the table here is that Trevor Lawrence doesn't have to play outside of himself. He doesn't have to be anything that he's not. Just be yourself, take the coaching, and be a leader out there. Simple as that.
Hopefully we'll see the ball driven down the field a little bit today, right? You don't have to empty the playbook in week 2 of the preseason, but I thought it was very much let's have some building blocks for Trevor Lawrence last week, get him some success, let's get him some completions, feeling good, get him out of there. Hopefully the operation that Trevor was talking about will be cleaner so we can see what this offense looks like when they're getting in the right spots.
Well, I think the big thing to remember, too, about this offense is you don't need the extent of the entire playbook to be successful this year. I think if you go back to Liam Cohen last year in Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield, where Baker had his best season, I mean, they had a lot of injuries at key positions where they couldn't run the entire gambit. They couldn't run the entire offense, and they still had a lot of success. So if guys can just do their job, not have those self-inflicted penalties, regardless of how many plays you're going to call, regardless of how much you open that playbook, they're going to find success, but they have to do their part as well as players.
Let's go to defense now, and yes, issues on that side of the ball coming out of last week's game, according to defensive coordinator Anthony Campanelli.
Got to do a better job with communication. I think that's probably the number one thing. That's just everywhere, even sideline operation, all that stuff. So I think a lot of that stuff, first game, preseason, you see stuff like that, and you get better at everything. Well, that's what we're focused on right now. I think the guys have done a great job of that the last 2 days. So working hard and getting that right. And they did a lot of good things, too.
First-time coordinator in the NFL. He was a college coordinator before, so all that first time out last week. And you kind of review the tape of yourself as well as a coaching staff. But certainly on the defensive side, and we referenced this earlier, the hands-up emoji a lot of times on defense. That's not what you want to see out there on defense.
No, I mean, that's the biggest thing I'll be once again watching for in this Saints game because, like we talked about a little bit, the Saints, they use a lot of motion, right? And right now, the Saints, they're trying to figure out who their starting quarterback is, right? Like, are they going to go with the rookie? Are you going to rely more on Spencer Rattler to start the season? So it's an open quarterback competition right now, and anytime you have that in the preseason, you want to throw a little bit more of the playbook out there to see what these quarterbacks are capable of. So I think this Jaguars defense will be tested a little bit, and hopefully they've cleaned some things up in terms of, the emoji of kind of looking around and seeing are we lined up properly.
It will be interesting because Shuck was really dumping it down. The whole shuck and duck offense is what everyone was calling it after 1 week. So if he's able
to, the nickname you want, by the way.
Well, I mean, if he's able to open things up against his Jaguars secondary today, I'm going to be a little bit mildly concerned based on his first performance getting his feet wet in the NFL.
Be interesting to see today what the Jaguars have in store defensively against this Saints offensive group. And then, of course, the Jags starters on offense, how long they go in this game. That's the best sound of the week. And don't miss your chance to score an exclusive Brian Thomas Jr. bobblehead and a ticket to see the Jags take on the Chargers, Colts, or Jets at the bank. This special offer won't last. One bobblehead comes with every ticket. Get yours today at jaguars.com/bobblehead or call 904-633-2000. Closing in on what would be inactives time. No official inactives, but we're expected to get a list of players not going in today's game. Up next, though, we'll hear from Grant Udinski, offensive coordinator, and get his thoughts coming out of preseason week 1 and what can be done moving ahead. Kickoff at 1 o'clock for the Jags and the Saints in preseason week 2. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans. This season, feed your fandom with the Jaguars sub from Publix, the official supermarket of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Sink your teeth into crispy chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, melted cheddar, sweet coleslaw, and smoky barbecue mayo, all stacked on a fresh white roll. Taste the hype only at Jacksonville Publix locations. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Champions are built from the support and encouragement they get from the team around them. No one knows that better than Jacksonville Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr.
As one of the nation's largest pediatric health systems, Nemours Children's Health gives hope to future champions every day to go well beyond their limits. Together, we can redefine children's health. We are Nemours Children's Health.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog. Made in Florida, Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
Big number 1 Duval Ford is trusted by Duval families, Duval businesses, and law enforcement across Florida. We're Jacksonville's largest Ford dealer by new Ford sales with the biggest service facility to keep everything in your driveway and in your fleet on the road. Shop Big number 1 Duval Ford on Cassett Avenue for our low prices and nationally recognized service-first experience. Big number 1 Duval Ford, proudly serving North Florida since 1916.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Since 2014, there's been only one official home builder of the Jaguars, Dreamfinders Homes. With quality-built homes and a speedy move-in process, we're in 20-plus communities in the best locations across Northeast Florida. Dreamfinders Homes is everywhere you want to live. So get off the sidelines, Jags fans, and get into the game. Let Dreamfinders help you navigate your home purchase and offer great interest rates. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for all your move-in ready homes and step up your game.
JP Shadrick, Mike Dempsey, Austen Lane from the Hyundai Studios. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. Closing in on preseason week 2, the Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints. The Caesars Superdome, the site in New Orleans, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff time. And let's look around the National Football League.
Yeah, most teams already played their second week of the preseason. Tonight you got Buffalo and Chicago as the only other game going off today. Finals already in. The Titans won their first preseason game 23-20 over the Falcons. Cam Ward displayed good arm strength, but the accuracy not necessarily there. 2 of 7 for 42 yards in limited action. The Seahawks knocked off the Chiefs 33-16. Rookie Former Miami Hurricane, much like Cam Ward, Damian Martinez carried it 11 times for 50 yards and a touchdown in that one. The Dolphins knocked off the Lions 24-17. Zach Wilson and Quinn Ewers combined to go 26 of 40 for 359 and 3 touchdowns in that game. The Packers over the Colts. The Colts still trying to figure out who the starting quarterback is going to be. Daniel Jones in that game, 7 of 11 for 101 yards. Anthony Richardson goes 6 of 11 for 73 yards. So no final determination made yet. The Patriots knocked off the Vikings 20-12. Rookie running back Travion Henderson had an 8-yard touchdown run for the Pats. The Browns over the Eagles 22-13. Philadelphia continues to play basically no one in the preseason from their starting teams. Dylan Gabriel, the rookie quarterback, 13 of 18 for 143 yards with an interception for the Browns. The Texans knocked off the Panthers with C.J. Stroud going 6 of 8 for 44 yards and a score. Final there 20-3. The Niners 22 over the Raiders, 19 points. Ashton Genty bounced back from a rough opening weekend with 7 carries for 33 yards and a score. The Ravens over the Cowboys. The Ravens typically dominate the preseason, 2-0 now after a 31-13 win. Cooper Rush, the backup quarterback to Lamar Jackson, threw for 198, a touchdown with 2 picks. The Rams over the Chargers by a point, 23-22. Former Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett goes 28 of 40 for 324 and 3 touchdowns in that game. Rookie Jackson Dart was 14 of 16 for 137 and a touchdown as the Giants beat the Jets 31-12. The Bucs over the Steelers 17-14. Bucky Irving with a 15-yard receiving touchdown for Tampa Bay. And the Broncos over the Cardinals by 27-7, the final there. Rookie Pat Bryant from Illinois, and prior to that, Atlantic Coast High School had 4 catches for 70 yards. Should mention Troy Franklin had 4 for 67 with 2 ending up in the end zone.
There you have it. A look around the National Football. I haven't heard Stetson Bennett's name in a while.
It's a little bit, yeah.
Wow, 3 touchdowns?
Balling.
324 and 3 touchdowns.
Pretty good day.
Yeah. Not bad.
What else, Austen, do you look for? Like, when you're not watching Jags right now?
Yeah.
What stands out to you?
Well, I mean, I'm waiting for the ESPN 30 for 30 about the Baltimore Ravens winning preseason games, right? Because I don't want to call them a dynasty in the preseason.
24 in a row.
Something like. I mean, they lost it last year, but it's amazing. I don't know if that's just like a depth thing in terms of drafting, where they just got great depth, great talent, but. I mean, it's definitely one of the biggest anomalies, I feel like, in the preseason is the Ravens always being able to produce and win football games.
They haven't played the Jaguars. That's why.
That's a good point.
Maybe that's
Come on. That's a good point.
Yeah, we had a 6-game winning streak snap last week. So
it's true.
A little shorter.
A little bit. Let's get back to the Jaguars offense. And Grant Udinski enters his first season as an offensive coordinator, and he's still in his 20s, by the way, Grant is. And we caught up this week after Thursday's scrimmage about some nuances of his offense and to talk about the work put in this week coming out of preseason week number 1.
I don't know that we've changed the focus this week relative to what we were doing earlier in training camp, but really the operation and execution of the offense, some of those finer details for each position and then collectively as a unit has kind of been the focus for us to be able to go out there, string together 8, 10-plus play drives. We need to be able to execute those details at a high level.
Yeah. What's your favorite part about this scheme? You guys have been cooking this thing up all offseason. We're not really seeing a whole lot yet because it's not the regular season, but what do you like the most about what you guys put together?
I hate the favorite questions because it's like picking your kids. I don't have any kids, but I'm told you can't pick a favorite. I have a lot of favorites of the scheme, but ultimately it's good to see the positions that it puts guys in terms of their ability to excel, whatever their talents may be. So I love that when we are executing this scheme at a high level, each guy has an individual opportunity to showcase his talents, whether that's in the run game, pass game, create those one-on-one matchups, or even create double teams, run game, pass game once again, whatever it may be. The flexibility to highlight and isolate guys in different positions is probably one of my favorite things. That's my best vague answer at favorite, but I have a lot of favorites.
Great Udinski with us. Trevor Lawrence's progression seemed confident, seemed comfortable. Preseason week 1, do you see it the same way? And what have you seen on the practice field this week, especially in the scrimmage?
I think what we've seen is kind of what we talked about in terms of what we've focused on this week. You see his continued improvement in terms of the mastery of the operation of the offense and controlling and really running the show around him. I think that is evident in the way that he plays at the line of scrimmage or even post-snap with his ability to make decisions and play fast and ultimately get the ball where he wants to get it.
guys have been moving guys and pieces around up front on the offensive line throughout camp and earlier this week as well. Anton Harrison went off to the side on Thursday. He was working at left at one point during practice. So where are we with a solution? How far away from week one?
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily a problem. I look at it as a good thing because of the flexibility we have with this offensive line. I mentioned this earlier today that it's pretty rare to go an entire season and have all 5 starters play every single snap in the exact same position, every single play. So the nice thing about this unit is you have a group of guys who can play on both sides, left and right. You have a bunch of guys who can play inside and outside, guard and tackle, and even at center. And really right now is the time to get that experience, to have a guy who normally plays left tackle or right tackle working with the opposite side guard. Building that chemistry now will hopefully be invaluable if that's called upon later down the season.
Grant, it seems like the running back room has 5 guys with some different skill sets. You know, they can all do a few different things, but they all do something pretty well. That's going to be a tough cut in the running back room. Where do they stand in your eyes right now?
It's really exciting to see the growth of that room. I've talked about the progress that each guy has made in all facets of playing the running back position. So we're asking a lot of those guys, whether it's as ball carriers, as protectors, or as receivers out of the backfield. And really all of those guys have embraced that role and embraced what we're asking them to do in terms of improving technique, different routes, different run schemes, different protection schemes that can ask a lot of them both mentally and physically. So it's been awesome to see the growth of each one of those guys individually.
Some of those guys not scared to make contact either, it looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw a little bit of that today. Hopefully you saw a little bit of it in the preseason. But whether it's the running back position, offensive line position, wideout position, whatever position it may be other than probably quarterback position, we want guys who embrace that physicality.
All right, we'll wrap up with Travis Hunter, the obligatory Travis Hunter question. So we're 3 weeks into training camp, almost 4 now. Where is he in his progression with your offense? I'm not going to talk about the defense, but when you have him, how much is left for him to grow? What's left on his plate in the next few weeks?
Whether it's Travis or a guy who's been in the league 10 years or a coach or player, we're all going to be trying to improve throughout the season. So I don't know that it ever stops or we ever reach that final point. If we did reach the finish line, we probably wouldn't be in this type of business or this profession. But I think you see, and hopefully you see, but I certainly feel that he's made improvements each week. Every time we get him from defense back to offense, you see little growth here and there. There's room for improvement, whether it's as a wideout technically or his ability to go out there and execute the offense lineup, operate, cadence, checks, all those different things. But that's kind of the same for everybody. Everybody's trying to improve at all those things too. So it's been great to see where he's gone from the beginning of camp to now, or even from the spring, you look back and see the growth he's made. It's really exciting to see.
That's Grant Udinski, Jaguars offensive coordinator, speaking on Thursday after the scrimmage, guys. And this is going to be interesting to watch as the season goes along, the dynamics of Liam Cohen, who is calling the plays, Grant Udinski, who's helping design this offense as the offensive coordinator, Trevor Lawrence's input to what he is comfortable with and likes. It's been an off-season story, but now we're starting to see, and we may not see behind the curtain all the time, but how this group works together, the dynamics on offense here are pretty fascinating.
Well, look, I think that's why you bring in this coaching staff that you did. Liam Cohen and identified Grant Udinski as a guy that could help him in this capacity, and that Trevor Lawrence, Austen, has all the talent you want, right? He has the ability to make any throw. He's a smart guy. He's mobile. He's fearless in the pocket. He has a lot going for him, but can you marry that with a scheme that makes a few things a little bit easier for him, right? And can you give him that running game that the Tampa Bay Bucs had last year that helped propel Baker Mayfield to the best season of his career? So, look, they've spent the entire offseason trying to dissect what Trevor does well, what he likes, and we'll see if they're able to implement that in a professional game plan that allows him to score, 25 points a week.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at, the coach that the Jaguars have had the past, years here with the coaches, they came here, I think, solely because of Trevor Lawrence, because they liked what they saw when they turned on the film and they were intrigued by Trevor Lawrence. There hasn't been a coach that's got the best, I feel like, out of Trevor Lawrence, and you hope now with Liam Cohen and company is that can happen. And then here's I don't want to say the frustrating thing, but also just kind of the silver lining part of this. He has all the physical tools to be successful. And sometimes it's more of a mental thing, right? And you hope that Liam Cohen now can kind of break through that mental barrier and bring out the best in Trevor Lawrence.
Austen, we'll see you tomorrow for Jaguars Happy Hour.
Yeah. I mean, a couple things I want to watch quick, obviously, in terms of this game is can they improve on the first week, right? Because if you kind of repeat the same mistakes, that becomes your identity a little bit, right? So can they clean up the mistakes? Can they play a better brand of football? Because this may be the last time we see the starters for the preseason. And also, if Cam Little goes 70+ in this game, I'm going to call him Cam Big from now on. Cam Little, it's done. It's going to be Cam Big from now on.
It would be interesting to see,
Let's
for
go.
sure. We'll see you tomorrow,
See you guys.
Austen.
Stay
Austen
casual,
Lane
man.
joining us. Plenty more ahead. We'll go back to the booth in New Orleans when we come back. Kanani Stevens and John Oehser standing by. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff time. The Jaguars and the Saints. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans. This season, feed your fandom with the Jaguars sub from Publix, the official supermarket of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Sink your teeth into crispy chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, melted cheddar, sweet coleslaw, and smoky barbecue mayo, all stacked on a fresh white roll. Taste the hype only at Jacksonville Publix locations. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Restaurant Orsay is a bustling French-American bistro focusing on classic French techniques with their chefs incorporating a traditional Southern influence. Celebrate life's special moments or just relax and enjoy their daily happy hour. Restaurant Orsay also offers full-service catering for any of your event needs. Restaurant Orsay, located in historic Avondale at 3630 Park Street. Visit www.restaurantorsay.com.
Brooks Rehabilitation is proud to be the official rehabilitation partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We are here for them, and we are here for you. Ranked #1 physical rehabilitation hospital in Florida by U.S. News and World Report, our playbook is individualized treatment and exceptional care to get you back to living your life. Brooks has cutting-edge technology and therapy solutions in every care setting, treating sports injury, orthopedics, brain, spinal injuries, and more. Go beyond your expectations with Brooks Rehabilitation.
The warm, buttery, and sweet aroma of freshly baked pretzels wafting through the air. No, ladies and gentlemen, you're not imagining it. Everbank Stadium is now home to Annie Ann's iconic pretzels. Jags fans can get a hot and handmade pretzel to enjoy during the game. Your nose knows. Follow it to the nearest Annie Ann's. Annie Ann's. Let's get twisted.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
Chelsea here from Renewal by Andersen. You've seen and heard our ads where I talk about Renewal by Andersen's exclusive Fibrix material being twice as strong as vinyl, incredibly energy efficient, and custom built to fit your home perfectly. But if you haven't reached out yet, now's the time. August only. Renewal by Andersen is offering triple savings. $300 off every window, $825 off every patio door, plus 0 down, 0 payments, and 0% interest for 12 months. Don't wait. Schedule your free consultation today at bestwindowsflorida.com. License number CGC 1527613.
Shadrick, Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios of the Miller Electric Center in Jacksonville. The Publix Tailgate Show continues. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. The Jaguars and the Saints. It's preseason week 2 at the Caesars Superdome. Kickoff set for just after 1 p.m. Eastern time. And from the backyard to the beaches, the Ford F-150 with available Pro Power on board gives you the power of a mobile generator. Ford, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. See your local Ford dealer today. Jaguars have announced players that will not dress in today's game, and there are some significant names, certainly. Tyson Campbell, cornerback, will not dress, will not play in today's game. Dyami Brown, wide receiver, will not go today. Travis Hunter gave it a go, but will not play in today's game. For the Jaguars, Caleb Bransaw has been dealing with a lower body injury. The rookie defensive back, Monteric Brown, has been out for most of training camp at corner. He won't play. Jalen McLeod, same thing, the rookie linebacker out of Auburn. And then on the offensive line, Chuma Edoga with an injury that popped up in the scrimmage on Thursday, lower body. Not expected, I don't believe, to be long-term, but will not play in today's game. Dennis Gardeck still coming back from his ACL injury last season with Arizona. We heard from him earlier on the Publix Tailgate show. He's just going to follow orders, he says. So the orders are to not play today for Dennis Gardeck, the linebacker, but he's expected to contribute moving ahead. Cole Van Lannen's been out all camp on the offensive line. Anton Harrison came the same thing in the scrimmage the other day, lower body injury, not expected to be long-term, but Harrison will not go today. Eric Armstead was working off to the side during that scrimmage, which is good news with a sore back, but will not play today. And Mason Smith still working his way back. He's off the PUP list now, but will not play. That's a number of players down today.
Yeah, without Adoga and Harrison, going to be some interesting combinations on the offensive line. Don't have that comprehensive a list for the Saints, but we do know some guys that are out, including Bub Means, their second-year wide receiver, went on injured reserve this week with a lower leg injury, so he's lost for the season. They're without a couple of tight ends, but they've been without them for all of camp. On the PUP list, Taysom Hill coming back from a torn ACL, Foster Moreau with a knee injury as well. Several starters, though, for the Saints won't be suiting up today, and they're questionable to maybe even make it for the opener versus Arizona. Pete Werner has been dealing with a concussion. Trevor Penning, one of their offensive linemen, has an undisclosed injury but listed as questionable to open the season. And cornerback Alante Taylor dealing with a groin injury. Will Clapp, backup center for the team, suffered a foot injury this week, and he was also placed on injured reserve.
There you have it, players not expected to dress for today's game, the Jaguars and the Saints. And let's head back to the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans to the Heritage of North Florida broadcast booth. And we welcome in Jaguars reporter Kainani Stevens and Jaguars.com senior writer John Oehser. Good morning. How are things in New Orleans?
Good morning. Things are good. You just missed John dancing a little bit in the booth. So
did we miss it? I don't know if we missed it.
Yeah, Kai and I were dancing to Celebration, the Cool in the Gang, which I've been dancing to since grad night in 1983.
Let's go.
So here we go.
I say we didn't see it, but we didn't necessarily miss it.
Yeah, I didn't miss it.
Yeah,
I certainly didn't miss it.
Haters. All right.
Hey,
I see how this day's going.
Travis Hunter, Dyami Brown. Frontline guys, Tyson Campbell, offensive line guys, a couple of those players down today. So this gives opportunities to others. But let's start with Travis Hunter. Out of that scrimmage, I guess, Thursday with an upper body issue, but not going in today's game.
I think the feeling that I've gotten from Liam Cohen certainly is, yes, you want to see some of the starters, but he's gone back and forth about how much he wants to see the starters in the preseason at all. Obviously, spend a bunch of time with the Rams. They don't like to see their starters even be involved. So obviously with the new system, he wanted to see what he has, but if there was any kind of question mark with anybody today, it looks like he's erring on the side of just sit it out.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is out of that list that you guys read off, I think it was 12, 11 of those guys are going to be important players for this team, either in a reserve role, Cole Van Lannen reserve. Jalen McLeod might be the guy at this point. As a rookie, they like him long-term, maybe not. Who knows what the roster will look like for him this year. But, yeah, there's 11 guys not playing today that they really like, and I think Kai was dead on. Liam Cohen wants to see guys, but he's from that Rams school, and he's from the NFL school, which is these days, JP, if it's close at all during the preseason, more so than maybe even 10 years ago, these teams treat practice, joint practices, whatever. They don't discern that much between the preseason games and practice, so they're not going to risk him in a live situation if they're even close to being hurt.
Yeah, guys, regardless of who actually plays today, the communication's got to be better, particularly defensively, the pre-snap penalties, just the mental mistakes need to be cut down. They spent a lot of time in practice on that this week. Do you think we'll see a significant improvement?
Well, they better. I mean, and by that I mean Liam Cohen wasn't very happy after the last outing. They spent time on it, and in the NFL, when you spend time focusing on something, the expectation is you see a big improvement. It didn't look that much better in the scrimmage, Kai. So I thought Liam did a nice job of not really exploding publicly about it last week, but he wasn't happy. And I know he's going to want to see improvement today. I would think you would see that, but we'll see.
I'm imagining they heard it in private, that's for sure. This time of year, I know we don't necessarily say there's dog days anymore because of the regulations and whatnot, but at this point in training camp, the physical toll kind of comes in. They've been practicing midday this week. That scrimmage on Thursday was pretty sloppy as well. And I talked to Anthony Campanile, the defensive coordinator, earlier this week, and he said a lot of the focus for him is with the defense of when you are tired, still not making the mental mistakes, because that's when the mental goes out the window, when you're exhausted and you're just kind of trying to get through something. And I feel like we're at that point. This is a good point to learn that lesson of just because you're tired, just because it's hot, just because you need a break doesn't mean you can give up the easy things, the fundamentals, not jumping off sides, penalties, those kinds of problems. And communication is an easy enough thing to do at any point. So that's where the focus is like not allowing your physical to affect the mental.
And guys, Liam certainly mentioned that this week, and it's a focus. But both of those guys also know, hey, guess what? You get tired, you get fatigued during the game. That's what separates teams. So it was absolutely a focus. Everybody's talking about it this week, and it's a huge storyline today.
Kai Stevens, John Oehser joining us from the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. What's the expectation for the offensive line today with Harrison out, Edoga out? How does this affect rotation? They've been flip-flopping all week long on the line.
Well, I think there's a little bit of Trevor, get rid of the ball. I mean, if it's close, I mean, you want to keep him healthy, you want to be smart, you want to see the offensive line, but you also don't want him to have any risk. So does that speed up the internal clock today? Throw it out of bounds. If you're wondering what to do, don't take a chance. But I do think you're going to see. What did we see the other day? We saw Fred Johnson working with the first team. We saw Walker Little. We saw Patrick McCarry and two others who I'm just running out of time to mention. So I do think you will see rotation at left tackle. I think you'll see a lot of rotation. They decided this week that they had looked at some combinations that they liked, and now they wanted to see, I think over the next couple of weeks, some combinations not only to get guys ready, but honestly to decide who's going to play left tackle.
Which, unfortunately, now with the injuries that they do have, Anton, we assumed would have been a starter, Chuma kind of pushing for a spot, that limits you a little bit in what you think you might have at your final rotation, right? So we're going to see a lot of what John talked about, scrimmage. I think we saw like 3 or 4 different left tackles, I think, in the scrimmage.
Five,
yeah, exactly. So also for Trevor, if he's not getting the ball out early, that may limit how much we actually see him. I know they're going to be limited with the starters playing anyway, so what that looks like early could be predictive of how much he actually plays. But I think for me, I wouldn't take anything as finite, like absolutely going to be this way going forward from this game, but it will be interesting to see what kind of combinations work for them.
Yeah, you are down, guys. Van Lanen, Harrison, and Edoga. Those are 3 of your 9. I mean, so you're limited in your frontline guys today.
All right, guys, we're also limited on frontline wide receivers. Travis Hunter and Dyami Brown will not be playing, both projected starters. But Parker Washington's had a great camp, had a really big week as well. Good opportunity for him to continue to get more reps. But how big of a role can he really carve out in this offense in that crowded wide receiver room?
Well, I think he's carving whatever he can. And I think they are adjusting in the last week or so, trying to figure out a way to get him on the field. I don't have a feel for how that'll look. But, I was told this week that's something that they're going to have to consider because he's winning. He's winning matchups. He's winning matchups against the first team. He's had 3 or 4 practices where he stood out. At some point, you can't be dim to that situation and ignore a guy who's producing. So I wish I knew exactly how that might look because I'm with you guys. You've got Hunter, Brown, and Dyami, and Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas Jr., all those 3 guys. But how do you get Parker Washington on the field? I don't know, but you're going to see it.
I think also for him is consistency because we see it in practice all the time, but when you only get your number called a certain amount of times in games, some players that's difficult for them to contribute that way if they're not consistently involved in the offense. But discussing with the other options, Parker may be limited in the snaps that he's out there, so he needs to take opportunities like today where he will get a higher snap count, show something of it, so then you're forced to use him because he's so good, right? He's so consistent. So for me, it's the consistency. We've seen him get more playing time in the last couple of seasons due to injuries. So if he can keep that progression and be a reliable target for Trevor, then it's going to be hard to keep him off the field.
All right, Kai and John, enjoy the game, and we'll talk to you when you get back.
Guys, thanks.
And
bye, guys.
I guess we'll talk to Kai in the final hour.
I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Yeah, in a little while. Yeah, we'll be there. Final hour. And countdown to kickoff. John's out of here, though. Catch both of them on Jags AM Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday mornings on Jaguars.com. And we are closing in on Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff starts at high noon. Up next, though, a Mike Dempsey fantasy forecast and Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. Were you aware of this?
What could be better? Oh, of course I'm aware of it.
Not much could be better than that.
Great.
Jaguars Saints in preseason week 2 coming up at 1 o'clock. It's the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans. This season, feed your fandom with the Jaguars sub from Publix, the official supermarket of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Sink your teeth into crispy chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, melted cheddar, sweet coleslaw, and smoky barbecue mayo, all stacked on a fresh white roll. Taste the hype only at Jacksonville Publix locations. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
What's here is a place that generations have trusted to help their kids grow up healthy and strong. What's here are caregivers with knowledge and expertise rivaling any children's hospital in the world. What's here is the only Level 1 pediatric trauma center in our region. What's here is Wolfson Children's Hospital, with the technology, research, and dedication to save and change countless young lives. Wolfson Children's, always here. Visit wolfsonchildrens.com.
Floridians, do you know how close you are to freshness? It's not a plane or a ship ride away. It's not across an ocean or over the equator. It's not even a far drive. The peak of freshness is at your grocery store, and it's called Fresh from Florida. Fresh from Florida is local produce grown by farmers right here in our own state, meaning it's always fresh, always in season, and always mouth-wateringly good. Look for the sunny Fresh from Florida logo or ask for it by name where you shop.
Right Now Power Sports is a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars football fires up your Sundays, and a Yamaha boat or wave runner brings on-the-water thrills to get you through the other 6 days of the week. Check out the extensive Yamaha watercraft selection that must go at the Right Now Power Sports Beach Boulevard and Jacksonville locations. Their prices will not be beat. You and the Jaguars can both win this season. Just mention Jaguars at the time of your purchase. Online at ridenow.com.
Hey, fellow Floridians.
We're the Wobbles. We're retirees with 5 grandkids.
And huge fans of natural gas. When the kiddos visit from Ohio, we go through towels like pool water. That's why we love our natural gas dryer. It dries in a jiff.
So we use less energy and save money, too.
Yep.
Now earn up to a $300 cashback rebate when you install a new energy-efficient natural gas dryer. To learn more, go to peoplesgas.com/rebates.
This is Jaguar Hall of Famer Tony Baselli telling you about Heritage of North Florida, Jacksonville's premier roofing and home remodeling company. With over 25 years of trusted experience, Heritage of North Florida has built a reputation for quality, reliability, and craftsmanship. Whether you need a new roof or updating your kitchen or bathroom, trust the pros at Heritage of North Florida to create the perfect place to call home. Mention Jaguars to get $1,500 off your next roof or kitchen remodel when you go to heritagenfl.com. Go Jags.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from the Hyundai Studios at the Miller Electric Center in Jacksonville. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the New Orleans Saints coming up with a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff time at the Caesars Superdome. Time now for a Mike Dempsey fantasy forecast.
All right. Well, obviously, there's no fantasy football being played this week for the most part, JP. There are a few degenerates that do play in the preseason.
Really?
But absolutely. Are you kidding me? Fantasy betting, it's all widespread in the preseason. People think they can get a bigger advantage that way sometimes. But wanted to highlight a few players who are starting to climb up. If you're drafting in the next few weeks, which is when the majority of drafts are going to take place, you might have to pay a little bit higher premium than where these guys are currently going in high-stakes leagues right now, which is a great place to pay attention to because these are the guys putting big money on the line. Drake London, the Atlanta Falcons wide receiver, has been going 14th overall in 12-team leagues. Not going to be surprised to see him climb into the late first round. Chase Brown is up to pick 17 in high-stakes leagues. The Bengals running back was the number 3 running back in fantasy football and point per reception leagues down the stretch last year, and I think is a great value if you can get him around pick 25, where he's been going for a lot of the summer, but he is climbing right now. Also in that range, I'm looking for Trey McBride, who's going on average at pick 27. Don't be afraid if you've got a late second-round pick to spend that on McBride, who after Brock Bowers figures to be the most productive fantasy tight end, or simply wait another round and get George Kittle, who's going off the board at pick 42. Some guys who are falling back a little bit. Keep an eye on Garrett Wilson. On average, going to pick 24, I'm much more comfortable with him as a late third-round pick. The Jets' passing game has not looked good in the preseason so far. Terry McLaurin's an interesting case because he has fallen back into being a late fourth-round pick where he might be a late second if he had been locked in camp. They did take him off the PUP list, but got to keep an eye out as to whether or not he's making an immediate return to practice. And wanted to highlight 3 good values right now in the 5th round of fantasy drafts. If you want to wait on your running back position and load up on wide receiver early, you're looking for Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, and James Conner. Those guys figure to be heavy workload players for their respective backfields. Of course, Kamara playing for the Saints. I don't expect to see much, if any, out of Alvin Kamara today.
Probably not. How about Travis Hunter out today for the Jaguars, but in terms of fantasy land, where does he stand right now?
Yeah, he's been more like a 6th-round pick. People are drafting him as their 3rd wide receiver in leagues that require 3. And I'll be honest with you, I hope that he pays off that value. I'm much more comfortable taking Travis Hunter as my 4th wide receiver, which means I probably won't get a lot of him because I think week-to-week consistency in leagues that don't award points for what he does on defense, and those leagues are still few and far between. I think you're going to have some of those highlight games for Travis Hunter, but you're also probably going to have some games where Dyami Brown, Parker Washington have bigger roles in the Jags passing game.
There you have it, fantasy forecast in the books in preseason week 2, and we're about 10 minutes away from countdown to kickoff on the Jaguars Radio Network, presented by the University of Florida, the #1 university in the U.S. News and World Report's #1 state for education. And let's go to New Orleans now. The Jaguars broadcast booth is presented by Heritage of North Florida, Jacksonville's premier roofing and remodeling company. Frank Frangie joining us now from the Superdome and the Big Easy. And, hey, Frank, here we are, preseason week 2. A lot of work this week, back to basics at times, and a head coach that just kind of felt a little perturbed, I think, with everything that happened in the last week or so. It's our first chance to see him coming off a little bit of adversity. Frank, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, JP, to you and Mike, and I think that's a good read. I think Liam did seem a little annoyed, and I think that may contribute to the starters playing today, at least a couple series, the starters that have not been ruled out. You guys talked about Travis Hunter, but the ones who have not ruled out are going to play, and I think that's part of it. I think the scrimmage was part of it. I don't know that the scrimmage went as well offensively as they would have liked, JP. We've all talked about that. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of work to get done. It'll be very interesting to see how these starters play today, knowing that the scrimmage didn't go as well as they might have liked. And, look, we're getting close. There's no question.
Always interesting, Frank, to see how much the quarterback plays in the preseason, but I think what kind of plays they call for him today with Anton Harrison missing, Chuma Edoga. We know Cole Van Lanen's been out for a while. So, 2 guys that may be starters on this offensive line. Now, they may feel they've got some interchangeable pieces, but do you think they play it a little close to the vest, make sure Trevor gets rid of the ball quickly today?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, Mike, because he also doesn't have 2 of the 3 expected weapons out wide. There's no Dyami Brown. There's no Travis Hunter. So not only do you have to make sure he's protected, but you have to be concerned a little bit with what weapons he has if he is protected. So maybe, I think more than anything else, Mike, Liam wants Trevor Lawrence to get the feel of this offense, to get the feel of how this offense feels, getting the plays called in, getting the plays called, getting to the line of scrimmage. He might have gotten there slow a time or 2 last week. Get into the rhythm of doing what this offense is going to do. I almost think that's more important today than how you play or what plays you call. The rhythm of being in a game, getting the plays called in, Liam calling the play, Trevor getting it, getting everybody lined up. I think that's all part of a dress rehearsal of sorts. I'm going to get, and I don't know this, Mike, I'm going to guess that if you have a joint practice with Miami, which they're going to have, there's less of a chance they play next week. So this might be the last chance you have in game circumstances to do it that way, and I think that's going to be part of this. I really do.
If they have a couple false starts, Liam Cohen might lose his mind on the sideline today. You never know. We'll see.
You get that impression. You really do.
We'll see. Frank Frangie with us in New Orleans. Defensively, they had issues in last week's game against the Steelers, and Anthony Campanelli admitted it. Hey, maybe it was some of the sideline operation, but players not getting their cleats in the ground. They went back to basics on that side of the ball. There's some defensive players not available in this game today as well, Frank, but where does this group need to go, and where's the next step on defense?
I think coverage is a big thing today, JP, because guys ran wide open last week against the Steelers. I think that's one of the things that really frustrated Jaguars coaches is there was a lot of air. There was a lot of air between where the Jaguars defensive backs were and where those receivers were breaking off their routes. And I think that's what has to improve. I think of all the things you talk about today, improvement from last week to today, I think the big thing, at least for me, is the change in coverage defensively. Guys can't be running that wide open. Skylar Thompson can't have guys wide open like he did last week, and then Tyler Shucker, whoever plays for the Saints today. You can't have that. And so I think more than anything, look, you got to have a pass rush. They were okay against the run last week, and you got to rush the passer better. But I think coverage, JP, is the big thing that coaches will look for and hope is better today.
All right, so poor coverage, lack of communication, mental mistakes. We are gone through all the things that the Jags need to improve upon, Frank. What do you feel the best about this team at this moment?
Yeah, I number one, I thought they were okay against the run last week. I've said this all along. I love the running backs room, Mike. I've told you that before. I've said that on my radio show before. I like the receiver room. I think offensively they're going to be pretty good. Trevor played one series last week. He was 6 out of 7. He drove him to a score. I think offensively they're going to find themselves. They got to figure out the line, but I feel pretty good about the offense. I feel pretty good about the exterior pass rushers. I worry more about communication defensively, the defensive tackle position, but I do feel good about where that are. I'll bet you it's a good offense this year, Mike. I have a feeling. I know they weren't very good in the scrimmage last week, but I'll bet you we're going to look up in November, and this has been a better offense than people expected. That's what I feel best about it with this football team.
All right, Frank, have a great call at high above the Superdome, by the way. If the booth's still upstairs, right?
JP, we are way up here, no question about it. Thanks, fellas.
Frank Frangie joining us from New Orleans and the Caesars Superdome. And you know what? Maybe that is the solution for Trevor Lawrence and an offensive line with some injuries. Yeah, just turn around and hand it off, right? Run the football with the 5 running backs.
That's what they want, right? I mean, look, if you had the running game that Liam Cohen had in Tampa last year, it opens everything up for the passing game. I think they do want to lean on that, JP. And I think at this point everybody expects 4 true tailbacks to make the opening day roster.
Yeah, I mean, and then the 5th on the practice squad if they can sneak him through, maybe.
Right.
You know?
I mean, it's Jaquin and Jackson. I mean, you're not going to cut the draft picks, and there's no reason to. They've performed as you've expected them to. And I do want to really see how they operate with the first team. Is this Tank Bigsby's opportunity to show what he's got, or is this Travis Etienne solidifying that he is the alpha dog in that backfield right now?
Well, maybe there is no alpha dog.
Maybe there's not.
Maybe there's 2 alpha dogs.
Maybe there are 4, JP.
I mean, there could be.
Hard to say.
It depends on the matchup.
Generally not. It's kind of flies in the face of the definition of alpha dog to have multiple of them.
What would be the next one? Beta? Beta dog?
Yeah, I don't know if I think I just want to be called a dog at that point.
Turn on that X-ray and see that dog inside of you. We'll see if the Jags running backs get a lot of the workload today in New Orleans against the Saints. And Jaguars Radio Network coverage is coming up next with Countdown to Kickoff. We'll hear from Fred Taylor and the final word before kickoff with Jags head coach Liam Cohen. The Jags and the Saints in preseason week 2. Thanks for listening to the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
It's game time, Jaguars fans. This season, feed your fandom with the Jaguars sub from Publix, the official supermarket of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Sink your teeth into crispy chicken tenders, boar's head bacon, melted cheddar, sweet coleslaw, and smoky barbecue mayo, all stacked on a fresh white roll. Taste the hype only at Jacksonville Publix locations. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
2 hours ago, Kyle arrived at the bar.
Hey, what's everyone drinking?
30 minutes ago, Kyle got his friends another round of drinks.
Cheers!
5 minutes ago, Kyle decided to drive home drunk. A minute ago, a law enforcement officer pulled up behind Kyle.
Sir, have you been drinking tonight?
A chain of events that began 2 hours ago is about to change Kyle's whole world. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Brought to you by FDOT.
Plumbing problems, AC not blowing, septic tank doing whatever septic tanks do? Don't call 3 different companies and play contractor roulette. Just call Duck Duck Rooter. We handle plumbing, septic, and air conditioning all under one roof. That's one call, one company, and one bill that won't give you a heart attack. For fast, reliable, and slightly ducky service, call 904-862-6769 or waddle over to duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the Duck.
What's the best part about lawn care during the winter? You can give it a rest. Lawns only need watering up to once a week. Really, that's it. Using less water means you're saving time and money that you can put towards something else. Before you run your sprinklers, remember, give it a rest and only water up to once a week. For more information, visit waterlessflorida.com.
Is your organization ready to tackle its toughest challenges? For 3 decades, CSI Companies based in Jacksonville has been the trusted workforce partner for leading healthcare and technology providers nationwide. Whether finding the right talent for a specific job, advising on a strategic project, or offering seamless managed services, they tailor every solution to fit your needs. CSI brings trusted expertise and a people-first approach to your organization. Get the job done right. Together, we go further. Learn more at CSICompanies.com. The kick is up. It's good!
Field goals for Firehouse Subs are back. That means when the Jags score from deep, you do too. Anytime the Jags score a field goal that's 40 yards or more, you can get a free medium sub with the purchase of any other medium sub, online or in the app for 4 days following the game. So cheer on the Jags, watch for the big kicks, and get your buy one, get one free medium sub at participating Firehouse Subs throughout Jacksonville when you use the app. The hottest subs in Duval. See firehousesubs.com